Welcome back to my channel, Life with Sunshine. I am Sunshine. Welcome to my space and thoughts on all things health. This is episode 2 of our 4-part series with Dr. Rose Misati, our certified family trauma professional, parenting and relationships coach, and cognitive behavior therapist. This is episode 2. Means there's another episode before, so you need to go back, watch it, and then come. So now back to what we had said we'd be talking about this week. It's childhood trauma, but now we want to find out how childhood trauma affects our relationships. Because if you said we have all experienced trauma, whether or not we want to accept it, how does it affect our relationships?
Oh, great. That's important. And if you observed a lot of the things we said on how somebody is traumatized, the trauma occurs in relationships. Because essentially it is relationships that cause trauma. So this will definitely affect the relationships that somebody gets involved in because we are wired for connection. So let me begin by just going back a little bit and saying, as we said in the last episode, trauma affects the brain, it affects the body, it affects all the systems of the body. And so when somebody has been traumatized, their brain is familiar. They are familiar to trauma. Maybe if it was abuse, they are familiar to it. So that means that even as they start engaging themselves with people, relating with other people outside of their families, they'll always be expecting that. So either they attract or get attracted to people who are going to re-traumatize and take them back to that state, or if the person is safe, they will sabotage that relationship. So whether it is let's begin with relationships that are not romantic.
Yes.
You will find when somebody goes out there, there could be that child who is bullied. There could be that child who is always, complaining or bickering or whatever in the group they are in. Or even you will find, if let's say they are same gender, same sex relationships, you will find their friends take advantage of them. They're the ones who are always picking up after everybody. Okay. They're the ones who are rescuing everybody. Like you may find your friends are borrowing you money. You're the one who is lending them money.
And you're lending, and they never give it back.
They never
but you
give
keep
it
lending.
back. Yes, you're the one who is called to come and pick up after people. And we are not saying it's not good. You shouldn't help. You should. But this is a case whereby people are taking advantage, and you have got no capacity at that point to say no, because your boundaries are blurred. Because essentially trauma causes violation of boundaries, where somebody feels helpless. They feel victimized. Because we say trauma is any negative experience that overwhelms somebody's capacity to cope. So they feel victimized. So they'll always, most of the time, be the victim. Now, when they get to romantic relationships, now this is a big one. Every day, I deal with people who are having trouble in their romantic relationships, and they have everything. They can write a thesis on their partner. They have everything to talk and to blame the partner. And I tell them, you know what? Let's look inward, because you are energy. There's energy all around you. So the people you attract them at your level of consciousness. So many times, especially when you've been wounded, you've been traumatized, and you're in denial, everything is buried in your subconscious mind. So you keep attracting people who will re-traumatize you to give you an opportunity to heal. Okay?
Wow,
so let me just
that
say,
again.
So you keep on attracting people. In fact, we put it this way in relationship speak. You attract your unfinished business. You attract your unfinished business.
Wow.
If your parent, let me just say, because we are ladies here, if your father was abusive to you, or even maybe to your mother, you may find yourself being in relationships that are abusive. You are being abused. I've seen these cycles repeating themselves.
You're unable to leave.
You are unable to live because you feel so victimized until you become aware. Because you are attracting your unfinished business. You've never dealt with that trauma. So you're being given an opportunity to heal. Your brain attracted that which is familiar. Abuse is familiar to you. So unless you put on the emotional work to heal, you will leave this abuser, get another one. You may leave a physical abuser, you get an emotional abuser. You leave an emotional abuser, you get a sexual abuser. That's why so people jump. It's a cycle. People jump from the frying pan to the fire. I always tell people, if you're in an abusive relationship and you want to leave, maybe for the sake of your health, your security, it's okay. But that's not the end goal. The end goal is you need to heal, because you get into another one, just like that. if you didn't heal.
Wow.
So that's one aspect. Now, the other aspect, you may find yourself with somebody who is safe, like they're not abusive, they're not anything. You will end up sabotaging that relationship.
Because
you
it's too
instigate
safe.
fights.
Oh.
And it's so unfamiliar. People come to me and they tell me there was too much peace. So I just started a quarrel. I'm telling you, they're cantankerous. Sorry, I'm using that label. But I mean, they
honestly say there was too much peace in the relationship.
Exactly.
So I need to do something. There's something wrong.
They just feel it's very unfamiliar. I've seen people even writing to their spouses and saying, I'm used to the explosive, toxic kind of love. Like there's fighting, there's shouting, there's quarreling. So you need to be careful. If you're dating and somebody is that type, please do not pray it away. Like at you, I'm praying they are going to change. Please. Or somebody has extreme anger. Please. Don't say at you, oh, they are going to change. They need to heal from their childhood trauma. Because maybe they were used to chaos. In their home, anytime maybe the father came, there was fighting. But here you're coming in peace. You know, they will say, I come in peace. They are not used to that peace. They're used to when you meet, there has to be a fight before you leave each other. That's what their brain is used to.
What?
And we are not, labeling or victimizing, but we are saying if you notice that you're familiar to you're familiar to chaos, you need to heal. You need to heal. And if you're the one on the receiving end, that you're disturbed by this person who is always bringing chaos, you may need to remove yourself and ask them to take a step to heal. Because this is not going to just go away. This is a red flag. You have already, yes, it is a red flag and you've already seen it.
Now, there was this quote I read that it said, if you're dating someone, try and find out how that person was raised. Because a lot of people weren't raised in love, they were raised on survival. That's where you see so many men or women not being able to love properly or by hurting people, like you've just said. And you'll find a lot of good-looking people damaged inside because of their past, and you won't realize how damaged they are until you try to love them. If you think a person's past doesn't affect how they see life, then you're sadly mistaken.
Exactly, and I get that every day. And these people who bring chaos, they can be the most dazzling. They are very attractive, they are very intelligent, they have like everything going. And then somebody says, but they are perfect, except... And that is a major issue. That's a major thing. So, as we said that all of us have been traumatized, we've gone through something. But it's important for us to reflect so that we go back, we say, what are these patterns that I experienced? And how can I bring this to an end so that I can rewrite my story, so that I can embrace healing, which I think we will cover later on.
So can I heal while I'm in a relationship, or should I leave a relationship to be in my healing journey?
So it depends on the extent to which you have been traumatized. Let me put it this way. I normally put this quote a lot. We were damaged or traumatized in relationships.
Yes.
We can only heal in a relationship. You can't isolate yourself as a monk and say, I'm going to go on a mountain somewhere and heal alone. No, because relationships triggers. It's in a relationship that you realize, I have these anger issues. So you need to assess the extent. Because some people, their trauma causes them to be so unsafe. Because anytime you're with them, they're shouting, maybe they're even fighting. So it's not safe for you. So you may need to assess. If it feels uncomfortable, it feels scary, it feels unsafe, the relationship may need to be ended for the other person or for both to heal, both many times. But if you can talk and agree, you say, you know what, we realize that we have gone through this trauma, can we embark on our healing journey? And you're able to say, please be my accountability partner. When you see me bringing chaos, bring it to my attention and I'm going to do something about it.
What if we are both broken? How can we help each other?
You can actually help each other by being consciously aware, because we are all broken. None of us comes in a neatly, beautifully packaged bundle. All of us are damaged. Just the extent.
We won't go damaging each other more.
The thing is, we, as I said, you can never really, healing is a journey that we never quite arrive. So you're not also going to say, even myself, that you have reached a place now, I'm perfect.
I feel I'm okay.
The thing is, you can heal to the point of stability. Okay. But once in a while, there's a trigger that comes. And romantic relationships, they were made for oneness. Yes. So they trigger us like no other. They trigger us. So sometimes it's until you get into a romantic relationship that's when you realize how badly damaged you are. So if you're able to talk to the extent you're not hurting yourself, you're not hurting the other person, and you're not allowing yourself to be hurt. Let me repeat this. So 3 cardinal rules for you to help each other to heal. You're not getting hurt. So you're not hurting somebody else. You're not allowing yourself to be. Wait. You're not getting hurt. You're not hurting yourself. You're not hurting another person.
Okay.
Because you also can't stay in a relationship, you're feeling suicidal because you're helping each other to heal. So you need to assess the extent.
True.
If you feel it's toxic, it's not working, you may need to step aside. And by the way, relationships are not an emergency. Neither is marriage an emergency.
Okay.
Sometimes people come to me and they're engaged, they're planning to get married, and you're assessing them, you're like, pana. This is an accident waiting to happen. So when I tell them, please take time, they're like, oh no, the wedding is next month. I'm like, please, wedding is not an emergency. Why rush?
Thank you.
Get married and then divorce after a short time? Why not just take a pause?
And fix what
And
needs to be
at
fixed.
least to the point of stability before you can proceed. Even if you have done whatever, dowry,
We have
the
paid,
caterer
we
has
have
been
booked
engaged, whatever. No.
place.
You can take a pause and take time, heal to the point of stability. Because again, we are saying you may never really
How
get
do I know
somebody
I'm stable?
healed. Oh yeah. That's a good question. How do you know you are stable? You know you are stable when there are a few points that I just want to share how you know. Well, you know you are stable when, for example, you see a person of the gender that hurt you and you're not triggered. For example, some people, if their mother traumatized them, they have something against ladies, against women. One time I was with a family member and we were watching TV. Then they saw a female politician and then this member said, I hate her. So it shocked me, it took me aback because I'm like, you don't know her. I mean, she was vying a presidential seat and you just hate her. So I said, but you don't know her. How do you hate her? And then he said, women, when they get to this age, they love mandazi and they become very stingy with food. So I'm like, okay, where is this coming from?
Where is it coming from?
I was like, okay, you are living with me. I'm not that age, and I don't think I love mandazi.
And I'm not being stingy
so
with
I'm
food.
not being stingy with food. Or maybe you think what is it? Then later is when he said, he gave me his story, how he was really traumatized by his mother. So you see, when you're not triggered by people of that gender, like some people just say, men are, women are. When people talk like that, they have been wounded. If you don't see people that way, if you take people one-on-one, you're like, okay, my mother hurt me, but it's not all women, so you are healed. If you see somebody going through a similar experience and you don't get triggered, then you're healed to the point of stability. Otherwise, if you're not healed to the point of stability, when you hear somebody has gone through a similar situation, you get so triggered and you want to take the matter in your own hands. If you can talk about your experience without getting overly emotional, without getting destabilized, is the word I want to use, then you know you are healed to the point of stability. Yeah, so you can talk about it, like you can share, this happened, and you don't get so overly triggered, overly emotional. If you use your experience positively to inspire other people and not to host pity parties and draw attention to yourself.
Yes.
Sometimes we can share to host pity parties,
I
draw
was
attention
raped.
to,
they did this to me.
They did this to
and
me,
now I can't do this.
poor me, that's why I can't do this, you're not healed.
Okay.
But if you can talk about it, say, they did this, but just see where I am, and then you can use that experience to inspire other people.
Okay.
So I always ask people, when you're sharing your story, for what purpose? Are you sharing for people to feel pity on you, or are you sharing so that you can inspire, encourage somebody? So that's how you know that you are healed to the point of stability. But healing is a journey that we never quite arrive.
Healing is a journey that we never quite arrive. I like that.
Yeah.
And so what I'm learning is that all my relationships, as you said, will be affected by my childhood trauma because it happened in a relationship.
Exactly.
But I will still only heal while in relationship, friendship, courtship, whatever it is, is where I will heal.
Yes, and when we say, I think we need to put a disclaimer there. When you say you can only heal in relationship, we are not saying romantic relationship. We are not saying that. Because people isolate themselves even from their same gender, friends, whatever, because they're like, hey, wacha mimi nikae, let me just stay with my issues. But the thing is, you need to relate. You need to get out there because we said our brain is wired for connection.
Yes.
We need to get out there, interact with people so that they trigger us. Because sometimes you look at someone, then they trigger you.
So you're telling me to throw myself in the fire? Basically, that's what you're saying.
Yes, and then when you're feeling triggered, then you go deep inside and say, why do I feel this way? Why did Nyambura's comment make me angry? Because sometimes somebody makes a comment and you really get angry. You're like, why did it make me angry? Did it probably remind me of a comment that maybe my mother made to me when I was young, you know, something. Sometimes, especially if we grew up, maybe our mothers would make comments about our looks, and maybe somebody will comment and say, you've lost weight, and maybe you used to be called, you're so thin, like, I don't know what.
When you're a child.
Yes, so you
triggers.
get so triggered, and you're like, why are you saying that? Someone is like, oh, I was just commenting. Yeah. Or somebody says, you've gained weight, and you take it so personal, and you're like, where? I haven't. Very defensive. Yeah. Because you are remembering maybe you are called kafati, maybe kachabi or something like that. So this relationship, the way you are relating, it's going to trigger. Then you ask, is it probably because I've not healed from the comments that were made to me? You know, the verbal or emotional abuse by these comments being made to me. Yeah.
Wow. So clearly, childhood trauma does affect all our relationships, no matter what it is, not just only romantic.
Yeah.
And now I want to know how it affects parenting. But that one is for next week.
Yeah.
That one is for next week. That's a heavy one.
It's a heavy one.
That's a heavy one because you said you experienced childhood trauma in your parent.
Yes, yes.
So we want to know what it does to you and your parents.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think we need to mention at this point that if you're having trouble in your romantic relationship right now, instead of focusing so much on the other person, focus on yourself and ask, can you see a similarity between your romantic partner and any of your parents? Can you see a similarity?
Wow.
Or do they trigger the same feelings that one of the parents triggered in you?
Who traumatized you?
Who traumatized? Or maybe even if you don't know that they traumatized you, let me give an example. You may find that, let me give this example. You may find that maybe your parent was drinking, maybe your father, let me say, was addicted to alcohol. So he spent a lot of time drinking. So you were very lonely. You longed for, you know, this parent to come and embrace you and play with you. But they would not come. You would go to bed, they haven't come. So they didn't really do something as such to hurt you, but they weren't there because of alcohol.
Yeah.
So you grow up as a girl and you say, I am going to church, I'll marry somebody in church who is very hardworking because I can see what alcohol did to my family. I can't go back down there. So you go to church, you marry somebody who is very hardworking and in church.
All those things.
Then you realize this person is addicted to religion or they're a workaholic. So you are there at home, they're always in ministry after ministry, they're always at work. They trigger the same feeling of loneliness that you felt as a child.
Alcoholic father.
Exactly. So your dad was addicted to alcohol, your partner is addicted to religion and work. So the thing is they may look very different because you say, and I wanted to marry somebody as different from my father as not.
Well, it's exactly the same person.
The more things change, the more they remain the same. So you end up remaining that lonely, rejected girl. You felt rejected.
What?
Different processes or different substances, but you're in the same place.
I never thought about it like that.
Yes. So ask, this thing I'm complaining about my partner. So you see, if you focus on your partner and say, people drag their partners for counseling. We have come, he's a workaholic, he leaves me to do everything. I'm like, wait. We can look at him, yes, but then let's look at you. How did you grow up? What were you expecting from him? Because you married somebody who is like your father. And now you are trying to control him, trying to change him, instead of changing.
Because you're trying to fix that thing that your father did to you, instead of trying to fix you first.
Exactly. So you're being that child trying to control.
Mind blown.
So you focus inward and change yourself first and begin, to meet that need of loneliness instead of expecting it from somebody who either has no capacity to give you or they are not willing or ready to give it to you. It's an exercise in futility.
I'm feeling so challenged at the moment. But that one, very deep one. So thank you so much for coming on this week. Next week, we're talking about how childhood trauma affects parenting, or is there something like intergenerational trauma? That's for next week. Thank you guys for staying tuned. Give it a big thumbs up and subscribe, and see you next week. Ciao.